Wishbone, what's this you're dreaming of? Such big imagination on such a little bud. What's the story, Wishbone? Do you think it's worth a look? It kinda seems familiar, like a story from a book. Shake a leg now, Wishbone, let's wag another tail. Sniffing out adventure with Wishbone on the trail. Come on, Wishbone, what's the story, Wishbone? What's the story, Wishbone? What's the story, Wishbone? What's the story, Wishbone?
I like that one. Oh, no, you must have lost.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, Joe. Hi, David.
Hey, guys.
Hi. We just cleaned up on the court.
Oh, he's a basketball star, just like his dad.
Like father, like son.
We have tasted victory! And now we'd like to taste some of that coffee cake. Psst. Hey, Lee, how about a little victory treat?
He knows who the pushover is at this table. Can I feed him something?
Just say yes, Ellen.
He likes these.
Here you go, Wishbone.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not cake, but I'll take what I can get.
Joe, maybe you and David can help us out.
We're planning our annual Lee Natonabah event at the library.
My 5th year to tell a Native American story for the storytelling series.
Last year you told a Navajo coyote. You were great.
Really funny.
This year I want to try something different, but I don't know what yet.
Well, why don't you let me tell a story? Something in the canine tradition.
Too bad we have the whole giant kitchen.
This man is a genius.
What do you mean?
I mean, sitting around the kitchen table is the best place for telling stories.
Yes, absolutely. The best of all possible worlds.
That's how it was in my grandmother's kitchen. Everybody'd be sitting at the table, and pretty soon there'd be stories. Stories about things that had happened just a few hours ago, or stories that happened at the beginning of Navajo time. It all went together. I grew up with the stories and in the stories.
You didn't get all your Navajo stories from books, did you?
No, they were passed down generation to generation, person to person. As a child, I listened to learn the story, to remember the story, so that later on I'd be able to tell it myself, especially the old stories of my ancestors.
Did you ever get tired of those stories?
No, they tell me who I am. Each story is a path, a trail that leads to a good place every time I follow it. Of course, it's fun to hear the stories for the first time, too.
It's an adventure.
You follow the trail, but you don't know where it's going to lead or what you're going to find along the way. That reminds me of a story.
Oh, tell it.
You have your kitchen table.
This story comes from the Lee Dakota, who lived in the woodlands of what is now called Minnesota. It's called The Story of the Deathless Voice. It's about a group of warriors who followed a trail on the lookout for the enemy.
I'll go on the trail.
Imagine this. In the very long ago, there was a certain group of Dakota warriors who left the circle of their tribal camp in order to help their people. They were in search of an enemy who was trying to push them out of their hunting area and take food from their families. They searched for many days and could not find the enemy, so they kept moving. Some had been in battle many times and had many stories to tell. Some had no stories of battle to tell yet. This would be their first time to fight. The warrior's greatest weapon is a fearless spirit. His path may lead to death. And now on this path, every sound, every movement could mean an ambush. without knowing what they would find next. Their story was in the making.
I hope I can be as brave as those who have gone before me.
Finally, with still no sign of the enemy, they had to stop to rest and to eat.
We will camp here. Take turns on the watch.
Oh, let me be in the watch party. I'm good at that.
You may take first watch. Remember, watch with your ears and your eyes.
I have a special talent for listening.
And so one young warrior set off to look and listen for the enemy.
I'm ready for anything. I'm totally calm. Nerves of steel. What was that?
And that's all I'll tell for now.
What? Wait a minute. I just heard a sound. It could be the enemy.
But I want to know what happens.
Yeah, you just got started.
You'll just have to wait it out with the war party. They don't know what's going to happen next either.
Well, okay, but you promised to finish the story sometime, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't just leave us hanging.
I promise. But now I have an idea for the performance.
What?
We're gonna turn the library into a gigantic kitchen.
I don't think I should be the only storyteller.
What do you mean?
I'll tell one of my grandmother's stories. But then I want some people from the audience to tell a story, too. Something from their own families, their own experience.
That'll take guts.
Yeah. I think I'll need to recruit some volunteers.
You want stories? Oh, I got stories.
I'll do it.
You will? Well, Joe, that's great.
Now, that reminds me of your dad. He never thought twice about helping out a friend.
What kind of story will you tell?
I think I'd like to tell a story about my dad.
Well, Joe, that's a lovely idea.
You knew my dad pretty well, didn't you, Mr. Natonabah?
He was a good friend. I think he'd be honored to have his son remember him with a story.
I know he would.
David, will you help out, too?
Sure, I've got lots of family stories.
Great.
And what about the dog? Time for the dog's story?
Too bad Wishbone can't talk.
Oh, I talk, Lee. It's just that nobody listens.
You know Wishbone? In a lot of the stories I know, it's the animals that do the talking. And human beings are not necessarily the wisest creatures on the earth.
Finally, stories that tell it like it is.
Oh, and that was after your dad's team won the state championship 3rd year in a row.
Oh.
You know, Joe, I'm really proud of you for doing this.
It's a good excuse to find out more about my dad.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember some things about him. I remember us going to the tire swing in the park. I kind of remember him carrying me around on his shoulders. But I don't remember that much.
Well, you were barely 6 when he died.
Am I anything like him?
Actually, you're a lot.
Will I win the state championship 3 times in a row someday?
I wouldn't be surprised if you did.
Neither would I, Ellen.
Hey, when your dad was just a freshman in college, he kept up a 4.0. And he started on the varsity team.
Yeah,
I guess he was pretty good in math.
that's one way I'll never be like him.
Hey, look. Your dad won an award for a senior essay.
An experiment to measure the modulus of elasticity of polyvinyl compounds is applied to spheroid rebound trajectories. I don't even understand the title.
Well, to tell you the truth, I think it has something to do with the physics of basketball.
Oh, right.
And here he is stuffing himself with pizza. My kind of guy.
Oh, I'll get it. Hi, Wanda. Hi, Lee. Come on in.
We've been going over the program design.
I think it's coming along.
Oh, wonderful.
Hi, Mr. Natonabah.
You've met Sam before?
Oh, yes. Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Hi, Wishbone.
Hey, why don't you ask Ellen if you can feed me?
How's it going, Joe?
Fine.
We've been finding out a lot about Joe's dad.
Like what?
Like that he was good at everything.
Yeah, I mean, look at these trophies and newspaper articles and stuff.
Boxes and boxes.
Hey, Mr. Natonabah, why don't you finish that story you started yesterday?
Yeah, that's right. You promised.
Okay, that's fair.
Ah, yes. I was on watch for the enemy.
You remember the war party was camped. Young watch. Suddenly, he heard a song in the distance.
Wait a minute. That's not a bird or a wolf. That's the song of a warrior.
This could be the song of the enemy. They would follow it and try to find them. They followed the song until it led them to a tree. Was this some kind of enemy trick? Where was the voice coming from? They drew their weapons, but the voice came.
Now what do we do?
Joe? Joe?
Sorry, Mr. Natonabah. I don't feel like listening to a story right now.
Joe?
I'm sick of stories, and I don't want to tell a story about my dad anymore. You can do the performance without me.
What? He didn't mean that, Ellen.
Joe?
Joe, hey, wait up! Joe? Where we going, buddy? I'll follow you all the way. Whoa. I gotta work out more. Joe? Pal? Are we camping here?
Hey, Wishbone.
Listen, why don't you scratch me behind the ears? It'll make you feel better. Oh, ah, yes. The healing scratch. Let's face it, people need pets.
Joe? Do you feel like talking?
How'd you find me here?
Well, this is where you bring me when we take a walk. And I know this is where you remember your dad best.
Mom, there's no way I'll ever be able to live up to all the things my dad did.
What do you mean?
All the stuff he did. I'll never be that great.
So all the stories about the state championships and the good grades and this honor and that honor. He doesn't seem like a real person, does he?
No. There's no way I'll ever be like him.
Joe? You're not in competition with your dad.
He's just somebody I'll never know.
But you do know him. He's a part of you and you're a part of him. You complete his story. You don't have to compete with it.
You're a part of every great thing I do, Joe.
keep thinking of the warriors who followed the song to the tree. Let me tell more of the story, Joe.
Okay.
Back on the trail of the story.
No one knew what to make of the voice. In the next moment, the song died away, and there was stillness. In the silence, one young warrior decided to get a closer look. He found some bones lying at the base of the tree.
Were these bones singing to us?
These are the bones of a warrior. He died a warrior's death. There's joy in his song. Death took his body, but we will keep his song. Let us learn his song.
Phrase a Dakota storyteller sometimes say to their listeners, Nie ichiayo. It means, take courage from the story.
Take courage from your dad's story, Joe. You can use it to fight your own battles.
Maybe.
Yeah, buddy. We're warriors together.
The story of Joe is still in the making. And it's wonderful. And let me tell you something about your dad that you won't find in the scrapbooks.
What?
On our first date, he was 45 minutes late because he locked the keys in the car while it was running. And then he did it again when you were born. I had to take a cab to the hospital.
Really?
Yeah, that wasn't so great. Your father wasn't perfect, Joe. Nobody is.
Except for the dog, of course.
You want to go home now?
Yeah.
I'll lead the way on this trail.
I like this picture of us.
Yeah, Joe is a cute little puppy.
Have you, thought about the performance tomorrow? I mean, it's your choice, Joe. There's no pressure.
I'm gonna do it, Mom. Do you want to hear?
Oh, I'd love to.
I wish my dad were still alive, but he's not. So I try to remember everything I can. I remember his walk. I remember the sound of his voice. My mom says she can see some of him in me. When my mom tells me stories about him, I can see his face. I can hear his voice. Her stories keep him alive for me.
You know, we have to leave in a few minutes, so we have time to set up performance. Think we can make it?
Sure, Mom. We're almost done with this.
Yeah, Wanda, this program cover really is beautiful.
Oh, thanks, Ellen.
Wanda, I gotta say it. You have talent.
I really appreciate the help from everybody in putting this event together.
I think people are really going to enjoy it.
And dogs. Will dogs get to enjoy it? Oh.
I hope so.
So, do you get nervous before you perform?
Well, I don't really think of myself as a performer when I tell the Navajo stories.
Why not?
The important thing is the stories, not the storyteller.
What do you mean?
Navajo storytellers use this word a lot when they tell a story. Jene. Jene means it is said. The storyteller uses it to remind us that the story doesn't come just from him. It comes from a whole history, a whole culture. The storyteller is sharing part of what he's learned from his family and friends.
It's a gift.
Exactly. A gift to the community. You know that Dakota story I was telling? It's not quite ended. I think I can tell it while we finish up. The warriors had defeated the enemy and returned home. A certain young warrior now had his story to tell. But not only did they bring back stories of their victory, they brought back the story of a new song, and they shared it with the people.
Story going. Lee? Lee!
That's what today's performance is for, to keep the stories alive. I think Wishbone knows what I'm talking about.
Finally, a little recognition.
Either that or he's hungry.
Oh, ye of little faith, Ellen.
Well, ready to go?
Yep.
Oh, why don't we take my car? I think we can all fit. Okay.
I guess Wishbone thinks he's coming with us.
He really should be there. I mean, it is a family event, and he is a part of the family.
Listen to the man. He knows what he's talking about.
He's right, Mom.
Come on, Ellen. You love me, don't you?
Oh, all right.
Yes! Thank you, Ellen.
Come on, Wishbone.
Can I drive?
Today, we've come together to celebrate stories. We've heard a story that my grandmother shared with me, her grandchild. We've heard stories of sisters and brothers. We've heard stories of a father told by a son. Now, I want you all to imagine that we're sitting around one enormous kitchen table. At this table, there's a place for everyone. At this table, there's time for everyone's story. We take turns talking, laughing, listening.
Even the dog gets to sit at this table.
Our hearts beat together as we listen to the story. We speak the story because the story speaks to us. At this table, people, animals, plants, wind, water, fire, past, present, future. All creation comes together. At this table, words become images. Our speaking turns to singing. Our walking turns to dancing. At this table, we are all related. everybody'd be sitting at the table, and pretty soon there'd be stories. Stories about things that had happened just a few hours ago, or stories that happened at the beginning of Navajo time. It all went together. I grew up with the stories and in the stories. As a child, I listened to learn the story, to remember the story, so that later on I'd be able to tell it myself. Especially the old stories of my ancestors. Each story is a path, a trail that leads to a good place every time I follow it. Of course, it's fun to hear the stories for the first time, too. You follow the trail, but you don't know where it's going to lead, or what you're going to find along the way. That reminds me of a story.